Zenless Zone Zero's release is just around the corner, and as someone that has put over 100 hours into the 3 closed beta tests, I decided to make this video where I will be going through the 5-star characters that the game will allow you to pick from in a special banner, so that when the game releases you can make an informed decision and get the most value that you can possibly can out of your account. With that being said, hello everyone, my name is DarkHero and let's get started. The first S-rank character of the list is going to be Nekomata, a physical attacker from the Cunning Hares faction that has a crazy amount of mobility and can keep on attacking the enemy relentlessly with her slash attacks. The unique thing about Nekomata is that she has invulnerability built into her dashes and can instantly get behind an enemy, so she really is going for that assassin playstyle, and you are really going to want to use this feature as much as possible, as Nekomata is a character that, thanks to her passive, is going to deal much greater damage after performing a perfectly timed dodge, which means that she's going to heavily benefit from skilled execution. Furthermore, by applying assault on the enemy by herself or someone else on the team, Nekomata's damage will increase even more. Thus, Nekomata is going to enjoy characters like Corin and Lycaon, which we'll talk about later in the video, that can build up stun to make it easier for her to deal damage, and with Corin specifically, an A-rank character that everyone is going to be getting for free, providing some physical defense down, and Rina, which we'll go over in a moment, also providing a lot of additional support, allows for Nekomata to have a lot more flexibility as a primary damage dealer compared to all the others that are currently present in the game. Just keep in mind that you really need to get those dodge timings down to get the most value out of Nekomata. The next character is going to be Koleda. She is a fire attribute agent that uses strike attacks and specializes on stunning the enemies and is the leader of the Bellabog Industries faction. Her playstyle is going to involve comboing together attacks and using her special attack in between her combos to deal damage, and when used after the second or the fourth hit of Koleda's basic attack combo, the skill will not only activate faster but will also trigger a follow-up explosion, so there is a reward for playing her optimally. Keep in mind though that Koleda isn't a character that is going to focus on dealing as much damage as possible, but her role on the team is instead going to be to build up as much daze as possible in order to inflict stun on the enemies. You'll be able to keep track of how much daze the enemies have by looking at the bar below their HP. Koleda also has the special property of having a coordinated attack with Ben Bigger when both characters are on the same team, something that is currently unique to these two characters only. And by performing this coordinated attack, Koleda will be able to deal much more damage and also build up daze faster. She's an awesome character that is a lot of fun to play, one of my favorites for sure, despite her energy generation being somewhat lacking, though her W engine will be able to aid with this problem. Furthermore, you can also pair up Koleda with Soldier 11 as a primary damage dealer, making for an overall well-rounded team. Speaking of which, the next character is going to be Soldier 11, a fire attribute agent that uses slash attacks and whose speciality is to attack and deal as much damage as possible. Now, as a main DPS, Soldier 11 is going to be a little quirky, which you can already see from her name and personality, as she is a disciplined soldier that sees herself as a weapon, so much so that she discarded her name and now calls herself Soldier 11. She's a fast attacker that is capable of outputting crazy amounts of damage by perfectly timing her attacks, that can also use her skill to perform an AoE fire slash while also increasing the damage of her perfectly timed attacks. So Soldier 11 is really going to be the type of character that is going to reward players that are capable of mastering her playstyle. And she's actually the only member of her faction, the Obol Squad, at least that we currently know of, so there is a chance we'll learn more about them in the future. Now, in terms of ideal teams, there's going to be room to fit in Soldier 11 into any sort of team that is lacking a primary damage dealer, and as I said before, she's going to combo great with Koleda and Ben Bigger, though the newly announced characters Lucy and Piper from the faction Sons of Calydon may just end up becoming her ideal partners, as Lucy will focus on being a buffer while Piper is going to be a debuffer. The next character on the list is going to be Grace Howard. Grace is a Pierce type electric attribute agent from the Bellabog Industries faction that specializes in anomaly and is capable of hitting the enemies from range with her submachine guns. She has some of the best mobility in the entire game, and her damage is surprisingly good despite her role being to help facilitate the rest of the team. As an anomaly character, her playstyle is going to involve cancelling her combos with her grenades to be able to build up anomaly and trigger the shock effect on enemies as quickly as possible. She's going to pair up nicely with other elemental characters like Piper, for example, being able to build up physical anomaly, so you would be able to trigger disorder. And while Grace may not necessarily excel as a primary great DPS, she is certainly going to provide a lot of value to your account. And best of all, she's very satisfying to play, and being a ranged unit, albeit the range isn't really that great, you'll be a lot safer compared to melee characters. But if you are the type of player that likes to mash buttons, then you may not enjoy Grace's playstyle as much, or she may not be as valuable to your account. The next character on the list is going to be Rina, an electric attribute agent from the Victoria Housekeeping Company faction that specializes in support and is going to use strike attacks. Rina commands 2 puppets, Drusilla and Anastella, and so she actually has a pretty decent amount of range, which much like with Grace, she'll be safer than melee characters. That being said, you likely won't be spending a lot of time with Rina on field, as she is going to excel as a support, allowing her team to deal much more damage, as Rina can provide defense penetration for the entire team, so long as one of her puppets remain on the field, on top of an additional electric damage increase, and being capable of also increasing the damage dealt to enemies inflicted with shock, so she is going to heavily benefit teams that use electric agents. That being said, Rina can also be used outside of electric team compositions, since for example she shares the same faction as Ellen. You could have these 2 characters on the same team and provide a valuable defense penetration, allowing Ellen to deal much more damage. And I really do believe that this defense shred is likely going to be very powerful even later down the road, as it is often the case in Hoyo vs games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. So Rina's only real downside is that there currently are not enough electric damage characters that are going to benefit from Rina's increased electric damage. We currently have Grace as an anomaly agent and Anton as a main DPS, but given that Anton is going to be an A rank character, he likely is not going to perform as well as the S rank characters. Still, I do believe that Rina is going to be incredibly valuable in just about any team composition, and so I would say that she is one of the top priorities when it comes to the S rank characters. The next character is going to be Lycaon, who is also from the Victoria Housekeeping Company faction. Lycaon is an ice attribute agent that specializes in stunning the enemies by rapidly striking them and also using his powerful charged attacks. Lycaon is the premium days character of Zenless Zone 0, and as such, if you want to stun the enemies as quickly as possible, Lycaon is the guy for you, as he'll often be able to do so in just about 1 or 2 combos, even against bosses. Seriously, the days buildup on this character is insane, and of course, him being an ice character means that you'll even be able to freeze enemies. Now, you won't be spending a ton of time with him on the field, but he will definitely have a big impact on your gameplay if you plan for it, as should you have 2 or more ice agents on the same team, Lycaon will be able to build up even more days. And we're not even getting into the W engines, which will make him even stronger. You can then of course combine Lycaon with Ellen and Soukaku for an all-out ice team that is going to deal tons of damage and never allow the enemies to fight back. He is going to be the S rank agent that I'm getting for first, especially as I plan to get Ellen, though if you find yourself not using ice characters, his value is going to be reduced. And then there's the 2 S rank limited characters, Ellen Zhou and Zhu Yuan. Ellen is going to be the first one, and she's going to be an ice attacker of the Victoria Housekeeping Company faction that has a really cool playstyle revolving around entering the so-called roaming state to use her Arctic Ambush to deal a lot more damage to enemies. Now, she already has quite a few powerful characters that are going to allow for Ellen to have quite a powerful team, such as Lycaon, Soukaku, or even Rina, that are going to be present right as the game releases. So that of course is going to allow Ellen to be an even stronger character and perhaps the #1 DPS in the entire game. As for Zhu Yuan, she is also going to be a main damage dealer, though she'll be an ether attribute agent, of which there is only one more currently in the entire game, in the form of Nicole. Zhu Yuan is looking to be a very powerful character, though it should be noted that despite being shown in a recent trailer, Zhu Yuan is going to be the only member of her faction, the criminal ISRT, which will be present during the game's release, which means that by the time those characters release, she will undoubtedly become even better and deal more damage by having them on the same team. Now, I am going to be making a much more in-depth breakdown of both of these characters, Ellen and Zhu Yuan, so that you can know which one you should summon for. That being said, let me know which S-rank character you are the most excited for, and please subscribe to the channel for more Zenless Zone 0 content. With that being said, my name is DarkHero, and thank you all so much for watching.